Marvel Comics.
Capcom presents Marvel Comics. I used to like that in my Marvel vs. Capcom game. Hey, Arcade Society. This is episode 2, Game Over, with Arcade Rich 504. And this episode is a dear episode in my heart. Today, I want to talk to you about what happened to Marvel vs. Capcom. Now, Marvel vs. Capcom is one of the greatest fighting games of all time, if not the greatest fighting game of all time. I want to ask my Arcade Society and the fighting game community of what happened with Marvel vs. Capcom. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about the history of Marvel vs. Capcom. So let's get into that a little bit. So let's begin. The first Marvel vs. Capcom to me is X-Men vs. Street Fighter. X-Men vs. Street Fighter was released in 1996. This game was the start of everything. You know, you had Street Fighter characters versus Marvel characters. Everybody in the community, Arcade Society, thought that Marvel vs. Capcom first installment, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, was going to be the only game for the series. So we didn't expect what was to come next. And that is Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter was released in 1997. This was the next installment for the series. The game was pretty much the same game, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, but it had more characters in different stages. So Capcom, they pretty much made the same game, just with new characters and new stages. Marvel Heroes vs. Street Fighter was the second installment for the Marvel vs. Capcom series. And it was still a good game, it was still a great game, but it still wasn't the beginning of greatness for the Marvel vs. Capcom series. The next installment that I have for the series is the actual title, Marvel vs. Capcom. Marvel vs. Capcom was released in 1998. This is the third installment for the Marvel vs. Capcom series. This was the game that woke up a lot of the fighting game community and the arcade community. Arcade Society, this game was the game that had everybody's attention to know that Capcom was on top of the fighting game genre. This game, like I said, was released in 1998. This is Marvel vs. Capcom. Now, this next installment is a dear game to my heart. This is one of the greatest fighting games of all time. This game right here is the game that made Marvel vs. Capcom on top of all the other fighting games, and that's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was released in the year 2000. This game topped every other fighting game because this is the only game that you could fight 3 versus 3 on one screen. So when you would do like a special move or like one of their super moves or super arts, however Capcom said it at the time, it was actually all 3 characters coming on the screen at one time, and you never seen nothing like that before. And this game made tons of money for Capcom. It was very well received. This game was on top of the fighting game community and the arcades for a long time. So that's the next installment for the series. and that's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And by the way, I still play this game, so you might want to go try this game out after this video. The next installment for the series was Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is another game that's dear to my heart. This is what changed Marvel vs. Capcom. This game was released in 2011. So my question to you, Capcom, and my question to the fighting game community and my arcade society, why did it take Capcom 11 years to make another Marvel vs. Capcom? From 2000 to 2011. Where is, or should I say, what is Marvel, where is the Marvel vs. Capcom series going? What is Capcom doing? Why is it taking them so long to release another Marvel vs. Capcom? That's a great question, fighting community and arcade society. Leave a comment and let me know what you think about that. Why did it take them so long? But back to the episode. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was released in 2011. This game was a great game. The visuals were nice. The reviews were great. Everybody loved this game. This was one of the best installments for the series. I still play this game today, and my favorite character, by the way, is Dr. Doom. So anybody wants to fight me in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, that door is always open for me to crush you. But Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is one of my favorite fighting games of all time. The next installment that I have for the series is Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was released in 2017. It had terrible reviews. Nobody liked the game. They feel like it was just Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with a little better polish and textures. They went from 3 versus 3 to back to 2 versus 2, and a lot of people didn't agree with that. So this game didn't have no updates. It barely had any DLC. The reviews were terrible, like I said, and everybody felt like this was the end for Marvel vs. Capcom. The next installment for the series is Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Arcade Collection. Now, this game was released in 2024, and this is all the Marvel vs. Capcom into one game, and it has back netcode where you can play online against other people across the world. That was very smart of a Marvel versus to have a Marvel versus Capcom game with all of them into one, all the way up to Marvel vs. Capcom 2. But my question is, Capcom, where is the next Marvel vs. Capcom game being released? What happened to Marvel vs. Capcom? If this is one of the biggest franchises of all time, why is Capcom not putting money into Marvel vs. Capcom? Can anybody explain that to me? Arcade Society or the fighting game community? Where is the next installment for this great franchise? Capcom. This is Arcade Rich 504 talking to you directly. Please give us some type of teaser or release for the next installment for Marvel vs. Capcom, because as a fighting game community and for my arcade society, we need that next installment for this series. Marvel vs. Capcom is a great game. It's one of the greatest franchises of all time, and the fighting games that are out today are great, but they still need that competition for Marvel vs. Capcom, because this is one of the franchises where it all started. So my question is, what happened to Marvel vs. Capcom? And what is Capcom doing with this series? Are they done? Are they going to release something else? Or they just, taking their time on the next installment so, they don't mess up like they did with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I hope Capcom gives us an answer soon on when this game is going to be released. I love this franchise, and I love my fighting game community and my arcade society. Thanks for being in the arcade room with your boy. And this is episode 2 of Game Over with Arcade Rich 504. I'll see y'all next time.